So I just caught NBA Today on ESPN, and Malika Andrews and the entire panel were absolutely going off about the Golden State Warriors because they have some genuinely strange and concerning issues developing early in this season. Malika said she doesn't know about everyone else watching, but whenever the Warriors are playing a team and she sees that notification pop up on her phone saying, Warriors opponent superstar out for the night, whether it's Giannis Antetokounmpo or Victor Wembanyama or Nikola Jokic, she immediately chalks it up as a loss for Golden State. The NBA Today crew doesn't know what is up with the Warriors' complete inability to beat teams that are lesser than them, talent-wise, when the opposing star sits out, but it continues to be a frustrating pattern. Real quick, though, if you're loving this Warriors content and analysis, do me a huge favor and smash that like button right now. It literally takes 1 second, but makes a massive difference in getting this out to more Warriors fans who need these updates. Every like helps the algorithm show this to thousands more people in Dub Nation. So hit that like button and let's keep this energy going as we dive deeper into what's happening with Golden State. It happened against Portland the other night, though that specific loss wasn't necessarily because of this weird issue of playing teams without their superstar, and losing, that was just poor execution overall. But Steve Kerr said in the post-game after the Bucks loss, "It feels like we're about 0-12 in games where our opponent's best player doesn't play," which is an absolutely damning statistic. The Warriors dropped to 4-2 on the season after this frustrating loss to Milwaukee, and it's a pretty depressing result according to the panel. Golden State is 4-2 at a time right now, where it genuinely feels like they should be 5-1, especially with this brutal upcoming 12-game stretch, where 10 of the next 12 games are on the road. It's a massive stretch for this team, as they're trying to figure out exactly what the identity and nature of this roster is supposed to be. Malika said the Warriors learned a lot about themselves in this game, but unfortunately, a lot of what they learned wasn't super positive. Looking at the box score for the night, Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga, and Steph Curry in the starting lineup looked great individually. But before the NBA Today crew breaks down the rest of Golden State's box score, specifically the major issues with the bench production, they wanted to look at Milwaukee's stats as well. Ryan Rollins, the former Golden State Warrior, absolutely ripped the Warriors apart in this game. It was a legitimate revenge game for Rollins, who put up an absurd stat line of 32 points on 5 for 7 shooting from three-point range. Just a ridiculous performance from the former Warrior, which made the loss incredibly frustrating to watch. The first major takeaway the panel noticed from watching the entire game is that Al Horford is starting to show his age a little bit. There were some moments where Horford looked discombobulated and dysfunctional within the Warriors' offensive system. Ultimately, Horford had the lowest plus-minus on the team with a -20 for Golden State, which is really concerning. Malika thinks there's just going to be moments early in the season where the Warriors are still figuring out how to play as a complete cohesive unit and how to properly work Horford into this offensive scheme. But the reason this particular issue doesn't scare the panel that much is because they've seen moments where Horford has been absolutely perfect with this team. In that Nuggets game down the stretch, Horford hit 2 massive corner threes to help Golden State extend their lead and close out that victory. But it hurts to see a veteran player like Horford, someone you desperately want to see play well at this point in his Hall of Fame career, have nights where you realize having him on the floor doesn't actually help the team very much. The next thing the NBA Today crew noticed is the Bucks shot 40% from three-point range. Here's the deal according to Malika. The Warriors are not going to win a lot of games when their opponents shoot 40% from beyond the arc. That's just not going to happen consistently, especially towards the end of the game when you get Steph, Wiggins, Kuminga, and Draymond back in the game. You feel like this is Golden State's moment to make a legitimate run and close out. The situation sort of reminded the panel of being down about 7 points, with about 4 minutes left, similar to that Mavericks game at the beginning of last season. Malika thought to herself, this is the moment for the Warriors to show their depth show their championship experience and pedigree. But instead of that happening, the Bucks hit 3 of the most fluky clutch shots anyone has ever seen. There was a ridiculous sidestep 3 from AJ Green with Horford right in his face, contesting. Another deep 3 in the far corner from Gary Trent Jr. just throwing it up. And then a deep contested shot from Brook Lopez. As much as this game absolutely sucks and is frustrating to lose in this manner, everything had to go completely right for the Milwaukee Bucks for them to beat Golden State, according to the panel's analysis. Ryan Rollins, a guy the analysts couldn't even describe his game to casual fans because they've watched him play so few meaningful NBA games in his career, has the game of his life against his former team. AJ Green hits a ridiculous shot alongside Gary Trent Jr., and Brook Lopez hitting clutch threes. Kyle Kuzma was awful in this game, according to Malika's assessment. She genuinely doesn't know why Kuzma ever touches the floor for the Milwaukee Bucks, because every other player on that roster provides so much more value than Kuzma does. It's actually incredible when you think about it. The panel didn't realize they were such Kyle Kuzma critics until this exact moment, analyzing the game. They're not going to pray for anyone's downfall as players, but anytime Kuzma shoots the ball, the analysts are hoping and praying the ball gets swung to him for a shot attempt because they have so much confidence that shot is not going in. But even Kuzma hit a dagger shot against Golden State late in the shot clock during that fourth quarter, which is just frustrating. When any team shoots 40% from 3 against you, it's going to be extremely tough to win on any given night when the opponent is shooting that efficiently from deep. The bench struggles continue to be a major problem for this Warriors team. The NBA Today crew wanted to look at the box score and break it down, but they thought the bench unit didn't have a single guy come off the pine and give Golden State what they desperately needed. It didn't feel like there was anyone who came off the bench and provided that necessary spark. It felt like Steph, Wiggins, and Kuminga were doing the absolute brunt of the offensive work all night long, and when those 3 guys weren't producing at a high level, the Warriors struggled tremendously. Quinton Post starts in this game but only plays 10 minutes total, which is baffling, according to Malika. Her frustration with Steve Kerr's rotation is that they just saw what Post can do in previous games. Yes, Post didn't play particularly well through the first couple minutes and missed his first 2 open 3-point attempts, but you've got to give that young player a much bigger leash to work through struggles. Post provides so much for Golden State defensively. He was genuinely stifling in that first quarter, when the Warriors jumped out to a 7-point lead. The panel thought Post was doing his job effectively. His plus-minus looked solid, and then he doesn't play at all during the entire second quarter. The Warriors bring Post back in to start the third quarter. He didn't look great there either, but Golden State isn't giving him nearly enough opportunity to find his rhythm. That leash needs to be significantly longer for Post, according to the NBA Today breakdown. If the coaching staff is going to tell a young player, "You're going to be a consistent starter for us this year," then he has to be playing way more than just 10 total minutes. If you're going to commit to playing a guy in the starting lineup, stick with that decision. Don't just immediately discard it or abandon the plan just because it doesn't work perfectly in the very beginning. Post was actually playing well early. He didn't knock down his shot attempts, but not many Warriors were shooting well to start. Golden State started the game 2 for 12 from 3-point range, yet they found a way to stay close and were only down 2 points at halftime. Then the game just gets completely away from them in the fourth quarter. The panel agrees that Horford should probably be the closing center down the stretch of tight games. They're okay with that decision. But if Post is going to start games, he's absolutely got to play more than 10 minutes. Malika doesn't understand that rotation decision at all from Kerr. Turnovers, turnovers, turnovers. This is the game right here, according to the NBA Today crew. Golden State had 19 turnovers compared to Milwaukee's 12 turnovers. That's 7 extra possessions that the Warriors gave to the Bucks that directly impacted the outcome. The 12 turnovers from each team cancel out, but those 7 additional giveaways gave Milwaukee more possession. The Warriors lost by just a few key possessions down the stretch. They ended up losing by 10 points, but it was genuinely close throughout. You absolutely cannot turn the ball over 19 times and expect to win basketball game. You just can't do it. The panel said Golden State needs to be at least under 15 turnovers consistently for the entire season. You cannot expect to win games with 15-plus turnovers every single night, especially when the Warriors aren't equalizing those mistakes with steals and blocks on the defensive end. So there are major struggles with this Warriors team that need to get fixed, according to Malika. But this isn't necessarily cause for overreaction or a time to completely freak out and feel like the season is over. Golden State is still going to be a good team. They're still figuring out rotations and lineup combinations. DeAnthony Melton is on the way back from injury, and they're still working guys into the system. But these road games against undermanned teams are the ones you absolutely have to win. These are games where it's not a back-to-back situation. Everyone's relatively healthy after a couple nights of rest. You have to win this game. You just have to. Looking at Milwaukee's box score, there's not a whole lot to talk about, other than the fact they shot 42% from three-point range as a team. Ryan Rollins, again, with 36 minutes played, 32 points, 5 of 7 from 3. Incredibly efficient, going 13 of 21 from the field overall, with a +8 to lead the team. The funny thing is, Kyle Kuzma didn't even play particularly well, but somehow led Milwaukee in plus-minus, other than a couple guys off the bench. Taurean Prince and Bobby Portis were excellent coming off the bench as well. But it's just frustrating to the panel because when they look at the Milwaukee bench players, it feels like they all have clear defined roles. The NBA Today crew isn't sure that Golden State's bench guys have clear roles yet in this system. Bobby Portis knows exactly what his expectation is when he checks into game. Taurean Prince, same thing, 18 quality minutes off the bench. Cole Anthony is supposed to be the spark plug guy, but when Malika looks at the Warriors bench, if Brandon Podziemski isn't shooting the ball well or making good decisions with the ball, he doesn't do a whole lot for the team. Moses Moody, if he's not shooting well, doesn't provide much. Buddy Hield, if he's not knocking down threes, doesn't do much else. Gary Payton II, if he's not shooting well, isn't really impacting the game. The only guy the panel sees come off the bench and create a legitimate impact defensively, regardless of his shooting, is, well, actually, that's the problem. They don't really have that guy consistently. Obviously, that's what you want from Gary Payton and Moody and Podziemski defensively, and the analysts aren't saying those guys can't have that impact. Podziemski had 9 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals, which shows he's creating play. But it doesn't feel like the overall impact from the bench is anywhere close to where it needs to be right now. The Warriors saw the opportunity bench players have when they do step up and truly impact winning. But there have been multiple games now, the Trailblazers loss, and now this Bucks game, where it feels like Golden State is getting absolutely no production from their bench whatsoever. Steph Curry did his part, according to the NBA Today breakdown. Malika said she doesn't know what has to be done about the officiating in the NBA, but Steph Curry, for as talented and respected as he is around the league, he just does not get the same whistle that some other star players receive. It feels like a young player with Ryan Rollins' archetype gets 10 times the favorable whistle that Steph Curry does, and it's absolutely infuriating to watch. The panel hates seeing Steph draw clear contact and not get called. He had a couple calls go his way in this game, but Malika doesn't understand how when guys drive to the hoop and just fling the ball out wildly, get it knocked out of their hands, the refs call a foul, and it's 2 free throws at the line. But when Steph Curry gets fouled on his way up for a shot, they call it a shooting foul but don't give him free throws. They rule it on the floor. Maybe that's technically the correct call, but call it consistently that way on both sides. Same thing with the travel call on Gary Trent Jr. It was a clear step, and then 2 feet planted in the paint, shuffling his feet. Clear travel that didn't get called. Then literally right after Steve Kerr complains about it, the very next possession the refs call a travel on Kuminga. The panel doesn't care which way you're going to call these plays. Just be consistent and try to get the call right. This Warriors team is going to be okay. according to Malika's final assessment. They're going to be fine long-term. You're going to have frustrating losses like this throughout an 82-game season, but this just puts Golden State in an early hole. When you're going on a big road stretch like this with 12 games, 10 of them on the road, you desperately want to get that first one because you understand this long stretch is going to result in some dropped game. That's just reality. The Warriors aren't the 73-win juggernaut team anymore. That's just not who this roster is. They don't have the youth for that level of dominance anymore. They don't have the same personnel. So you're going to lose some of these games. But this Bucks loss feels like one where Golden State was up, battling the whole game, had the better closing unit on the floor. And yeah, it just feels like some shots didn't go their way while Milwaukee got incredibly lucky on multiple clutch shots. Ultimately, the Warriors dropped to 4-2 when they really should be 5-1. The panel is still confident in Golden State's chances during this road stretch. They still think the Warriors will bounce back and beat Indiana in the next game. This is an opportunity to show resilience. How do you respond when things get difficult? 4-2 doesn't look amazing, but 5-2 or 6-2 looks really good for a team still figuring things out. The NBA Today crew believes the Golden State Warriors will find a way to respond and perform at the highest level going forward. So that was the full NBA Today breakdown of the Warriors' frustrating loss to the Bucks, with major concerns about Golden State's inability to beat teams missing their star players and the lack of consistent bench production.